Happy St. Patrick's Day! This year I decided to revisit one of my favorite films, 1991 film called The Commitments, directed by Alan Parker, one of my favorite directors. And why on St. Patrick's Day would I pick this film, you ask? Because it takes place in Ireland. Hello? It's about a band in Ireland in 1991. And, well, it's mostly about the manager, Jimmy, who puts this whole thing together. He's not a musician himself, but he's a friend of a couple of musicians, and he's kind of a hustler. I mean, when we first see him, he's going through like this flea market or whatever, local community marketplace or, street vendors trying to pawn off bootleg tapes and merchandise and things, and nobody's taking him up on it. But then he's on his way out of there and hops on the train and is recognized by some kids. Hey, Jimmy, you got the video? And he's, oh, yeah, I got the video. Mississippi Burning, right? Which is an Easter egg, because Mississippi Burning was another of Alan Parker's films. But he pulls them out, and they're just total homemade copies. He didn't even try to disguise it. It's got the total TDK, Sony, whatever packaging on the tape, and he's just pawning off bootlegs. Anyway, he shows up to this wedding, because he's a friend of the band that's playing the wedding. And so here's this band up there playing wedding type, mostly old 50s doo-wop kind of stuff. And they go to take a break, and Jimmy gets to talking to them a little bit about what they're doing. And they're like, well, this is a wedding, man. Of course we're playing this kind of stuff for a wedding. It's what we're getting paid to do. It's not what we'd play all the time. Anyway, and while they're on their break, one of the wedding guests decides he wants to get up and take the microphone and start singing something, and turns out dude can sing. Now, he's drunk as a skunk, man. He falls over by the time that he finishes his song. Oh, but he could sing. And Jimmy gets this bright idea to make some changes to the band. First, they got to lose the keyboard player because he sucks and he's got to go. And he decides that, they should be playing like real music. With real lyrics, not I want to hold your hand and be with you for all eternity, but real stuff like working class music, because they're working class people, and music with soul, right? So they decide they're going to do Dublin soul music, and they set out to find the people that they need to make this thing happen. And the word gets out about musicians wanted, and oh my God, they come out of the woodwork. Oh, so the tryout scenes are so funny. It reminded me of the superhero tryouts in The Mystery Men, if you've ever seen that. And if you haven't, put it on your list. Mystery Men is a great movie too. But so they do ultimately find all the people they need for this band. There's 10 of them, all told. They got a guitar, bass, drums, keyboard, lead singer, 3 backup singers, and a trumpet and a saxophone. 10 people all told. And they're going to play this soul music. And they are actually really good at it. And the music in this film is outstanding. And it's worth it just to listen to the music. The renditions of the songs are just fucking great. I mean, they do like, Mustang Sally, and they do Plenty of Fish in the Sea, and they do Take Me to the River. And when Jimmy shows up to the church to confirm for the first gig, the guy's playing the pipe organ, and he drops into The Whiter Shade of Pale. Oh, God, it sounded so great on the organ like that. Oh, it was great. And one of my favorite moments in the film. And then but from that first gig, okay, yeah, they get some recognition, and they get another gig, and then they get another and another, and they start to get popular. And word comes to him that Wilson Pickett is coming through Ireland on his latest tour. And the old veteran trumpet player, he'd been around and been played with some of the greats, and Wilson Pickett was one of them, and he was reasonably sure that he could get Wilson to come and see them do their thing, because he was going to come through Dublin, and they happened to have a gig the same night Wilson was playing somewhere else, and he was supposed to drop in after his set, and the Commitments were going to be playing a little bit longer, and he assured him, oh yeah, he'll be here, and no, he wasn't there, he didn't show, and the band's tensions were getting high in the band, and some of them were starting to hate on each other. The old veteran had pretty much bedded all three of the backup singers, and they were all fighting over him, and the drummer didn't like the singer because he was a douchebag, just a straight fucking, completely full of himself, just a dick. Nobody liked him. Oh, but he could sing. Anyway, so yeah, the band was fighting amongst each other, and then Wilson Pickett didn't show, and it was just all bad. And on their way out, Jimmy's walking, I guess presumably to the bus station or the catch the train to get home. I don't think he had a car, but the old veteran comes up to him and, he says, hey, man, he said he'd be here. And he's like, yeah, sure. He thought he was bullshitting him. And he says, well, I'm sorry you didn't believe me, Brother Rabbit. And he leaves. And just as Jimmy's headed back out to where he was going, a limousine pulls up and a guy sticks his head out the window and says, hey, do you know where this blah, blah, blah club is? And he's, oh, yeah, it's just right around the corner over there, but it's closed now. And the guy goes, oh, wow. So I guess back to the hotel there, Mr. Pickett. And it flips a U-turn and heads back where they came from. And turns out Wilson Pickett did show up after all. He was just late and missed it. And so Jimmy felt like shit because he doubted his buddy or his veteran guy. And that was pretty much the end of the Commitments, was that gig that they put so much, so many eggs in that basket that was going to put them on the map, that Wilson Pickett showed up to their gig and not only sat and watched them, but even came up and joined them and sat in with them. That was what they were counting on, and it didn't happen, and the band fell apart, and it was just a shame because they were really good. And Jimmy went back to his hustling, and everybody else went on with their lives. And it's just a really good little movie. It's just very entertaining. And again, just great music. Worth it for the music if you're not digging the story of it. But the story of it is engaging too. It's great. You just can't help it. It's you're really rooting for them. You really want them to make it because they're good. They're that good. And it's a story of so like so many others where there are people out there that are that good that should make it and just never do for whatever reason. Either just never get in front of the right people or timing this or that, or you never know. But I mean, there's thousands of artists out there that are just fabulous that you've never heard of because they just haven't, struck that. They just haven't made it yet. They just never really. I mean, I've seen local bands in from my own community in bars or at other events, and oh God, they're great, and they're just locals, and they're nobody that you've ever heard of. Oh, but they're great. I just love live music in general. Love going to concerts. I'm going to go see AC/DC this year in April. Oh my God, I can't stand it. It's only about a month away. at the Allegiant Center in Las Vegas. It's going to be off the hook, man. AC/DC's final tour. So yeah, no, I'm big into the music, and I dig going to concerts, and I dig live music in general. And if you're a fan of good soul music, you owe it to yourself to throw on the Commitments. It's great, and I highly recommend it. And I think I'm going to make it a tradition every year that I'm going to sit through the Commitments on St. Patrick's Day and get good and drunk on some green beer and just lose myself in Dublin soul. And on that happy note, thanks for listening. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Happy St. Patrick's Day.